Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Happy Wife School Show. It is wonderful to be here. If you can let me know in the chat that you can see me, hear me okay, and we will get started. So it's good to be back. I wasn't here last Saturday. Adam and I went to go see the Blue Angels in Colorado Springs, and I got something for my background, but I couldn't quite see where to put it where it would even show up. So now I just have it on my desk, but I got a little figurine of a Blue Angel jet. We had a great time. It was very, very hot though. It was 100. I think it got up to 104 degrees at the airport in the Springs. And so my husband and I had thought ahead. We knew it would be hot. And we thought ahead and we brought this like spray bottle of water and we were sharing it with all the people around us to try to stay cool because it was really hot, but we had a good time, and it's always great to see the Blue Angels. It's our third time seeing them, and we both decided like we're good for a little bit, but we had a great time, and it's good to be back today. I will not be here again next weekend because it's Labor Day and it is also my husband's 50th birthday. So we are camping next weekend and celebrating Adam and his 50th. So no show again next week, but I'll be back again in 2 weeks. So I'm going to head over to the chat just for a minute. Sounding good. You can see me. Awesome. And thank you so much, Phil, Steve, and Evo for being here and keeping an eye out on the chat. I see Phil's comment, hurry up, woman, people hanging on to hear your words of wisdom today. So glad you guys are here, excited to share words of wisdom today. And we are talking about how to be happy in an unhappy marriage for good men. So that's where we're going today. Real quick before I get started, if you haven't and you're on X or Rumble, please follow me there or consider following me there. And if you like to listen to the Saturday live show, but you don't enjoy the beginning and the end where I chat or answer questions, or you just like to listen as opposed to watch a video, you can find this on the Happy Wife School show on Spotify, Apple. You can even find it on the YouTube channel underneath the podcast tab, but it's still going to show up like in a video format, and also on Amazon Music. So if you like to listen to this in podcast format, just know you can find that there. And then I also like to give a reminder to go check out my colleague Josie's channel, Escape the Alternative Health Matrix. Josie is an incredible teacher in helping people outgrow chronic illnesses and autoimmune disorders. So for those of you who struggle with autoimmune, have tried a lot of different things to try to resolve your autoimmune disorders or chronic illnesses, you want to go check out Josie's channel. I think Luke asked last live if Josie and I are sisters. We are not sisters, but we are certainly cut from the same cloth and have known each other a long time. Josie was actually one of my first students when I started teaching, and when I started working with my mentor, David, and he started mentoring me personally and professionally. Josie was one of my first students. She had actually come to me for when I was a woo-woo healer. She came to me and started seeing me, and we had one session together, and then I had started training with David, and everything I was doing, it didn't resonate or fit for me anymore. So I stopped, and she came in for a session. I said, we're going to do something different today. And so I've known her ever since. So that was about 10 years ago. So we're very close friends and colleagues, but not sisters. So anyhow, go check her channel out. And let's get started into today's topic. I will answer questions from the chat at the end of the show. So if you have a question for me, it's best to wait and put that in at the end, and Evo helps me out and sends me questions, and I'll pick a few to answer for today. That being said, let's get started. So today we are talking about how to be happy in an unhappy marriage for good men. And the women listening might be saying, hey, what about us? Why can't this be how to be happy in an unhappy marriage for women? I'm going to talk about that at the end, so stay with me for that. I like to give a reminder that this channel is for women married to good men and for good men married to women who are struggling with the dynamics of the woman ways that I talk about on the channel. My channel, my message is not meant for physically abusive relationships or extreme dysfunctional relationships, so always good to keep in mind. The reason I want to talk about how to be happy in an unhappy marriage for good men, I saw a comment last week from a man, and he asked me, do you have advice for men who choose to stay with unhappy wives? How to parent, not to have shame, try to be a good husband, and not shut down. Then another gentleman commented underneath that, or how to stop her from gaslighting and deal with the fact that she will never make you feel loved. So that's the experience of good men in a relationship with a woman in our woman ways, which we all have on a spectrum, and how we emasculate and shame and make our husbands feel bad and wrong and manipulate and gaslight them. The reason I talk about these things is that was me. That was me in the beginning of my husband and I's relationship. It was me in relationships before him, because I'm a woman and I have all the traits that I talk about on the channel. And I've worked with women and men for almost 10 or over 10 years now. I can stop saying almost 10 years now in what I teach. And that's where all of this comes from, is my experience and what I've been taught and mentored in to support good men and support women who want to overcome these challenges. But there are a lot of good men who will choose to stay in their marriages, and they are not married to women who are open-minded and who are going to overcome their unhappiness and work to outgrow and better themselves and evolve into the best version of themselves by working on and letting go of their woman ways. That's the reality. And so that's where this question from this man came from, is how do we do this? And how do we do this in a way where we can be content in our choice, stay open in the marriage and not shut down, and still be a good husband? Because that's the nature of a good man, is in spite of how his wife treats him in those woman ways, he still wants to, if it's not too late and he hasn't been pushed over the edge, he still wants to show up and wants to do his best. Where we're going to go is I'm going to break this down into 5 ways to be happy with an unhappy wife. But I want to set this up a little bit before I get into that. If you're a good man and it's clear to you in different ways, maybe you've tried sharing my videos, maybe your wife has been in therapy a long time or trying other things to work on herself, and it's become clear to you that she's going to be unhappy and she's not going to stop the woman ways and the emasculation and the controlling and the shaming and the gaslighting and the manipulation. And that becomes clear to you as a good man, and you are choosing to stay. You must choose to stay to grow and learn. I often teach, and it can be a tough pill to swallow, but it's the only way that you can choose to stay and be content with your choice to stay and make the best of it and still thrive. As a good man, you must see and take on the perspective that your wife is your greatest teacher. Just like I teach to women that they are the problem in a relationship with a good man. If a woman works on herself and becomes happy in herself, feels good about herself, has a healthy relationship with herself, which was my path, then she begins to overcome those woman ways. Then a good man will be happy, she'll be happy, and they can have a happy marriage and a happy relationship. And that's how simple it can be. But I also teach good men that you have to see yourself in a constructive way so that you can overcome the emasculation, the gaslighting, the woman ways. You also have to see yourself as the problem from a very different angle than how I teach as women. We are the problem. But in order to overcome those tactics from your wife and choosing to stay so that you are not a victim to her woman ways, you want to use her as your greatest teacher to see what are the weaknesses in me. What are the holes and the cracks in my foundation that allows me to be weakened and gaslit and manipulated by my wife? Because that's what you have control over. Part of the question that the men asked me in the comment that I shared is, how do you stop your wife from gaslighting you? You can't stop your wife from the behaviors that she has and the poor, hurtful, negative behavior pattern she has in the marriage. You have no control to change that in her. You only have control to change yourself. So while you can't stop your wife from her gaslighting and emasculating behaviors, a good man does have control over whether or not he is gaslit or emasculated. I'm going to say that again. While you don't have control to stop your wife from her gaslighting and emasculating behaviors, a good man does have control over whether he is gaslit and emasculated by those behaviors. How a good man does that is by seeing his wife as his greatest teachers of what is the weakness and limitation in me that she can weaken me and cause the effects that a good man goes through from the emasculation and the gaslighting and manipulation. That's a good man's journey to be able to grow and learn in his marriage and strengthen himself and get to know who he is and still feel good about who he is and have confidence and inner strength in spite of his wife being unhappy and not changing. The key, if you're a good man choosing to stay in an unhappy marriage with an unhappy woman, the goal is to not be a victim and feel trapped and beat down and weakened in that situation. It's to grow and learn and to make the best of it and be in control of your experience in spite of who your wife is as a woman and how she treats you. A good context to see this and let it in is you have to think of your wife as a woman. You have to think of your wife as a bully. She bullies you because she can. How bullies work, and this is what I had to see about myself in my marriage as a woman, that I was a bully, is that you have to see that bullies, or you have to know that bullies see the weaknesses that they can exploit. And they see that a person is able to be bullied. It's the same thing as when we were in school and we all knew kids that were bullies in school. And some of you listening might have been the bully in school. Bullies see the weaknesses they can exploit in a person and see that a person is able to be bullied. That's what a woman does in a marriage and relationship with a good man. And part of the reason that a woman marries a good man as opposed to a bad boy is because she knows that she can be in control and she can have the power and direct the relationship in the ways and direct her husband and be in control of him in the ways that she wants. The emasculation and the gaslighting are tactics of bullying. And when you teach your kids how to deal with a bully, you don't teach them to run away and just lay down and take it. The only way to stop being bullied is to stand up to the bully, which I'm going to teach how to stand up to the bullying of your wife and where we're going today. But for the good men choosing to stay in an unhappy marriage with an unhappy woman, it's a really helpful perspective in terms of using it as a path to grow and learn and strengthen yourself and take responsibility for your choice so you're not a victim, is recognizing you're dealing with a bully. And that the reason she is able to gaslight you, emasculate you, weaken you, manipulate you, is because you're able to be bullied. Good men are easily bullied because good men are easily manipulated, gaslit, and emasculated. And those tactics make a good man weak in himself, which allows him to continue to be bullied by his wife. The contrast of that would be an alpha man. An alpha man becomes an alpha because in general, alphas are bullies by nature. That's how they become the alpha. And a good man is not an alpha. The reason that an alpha man can stand up to a woman in her woman ways and not be intimidated or stand down and be bullied by her is they can anticipate what she's going to do in her woman ways because they can see it and spot it because they have it in themselves as an alpha. Good men do not have the wiring. It's really important in the framework and definition of what I speak about in a good man. A good man does not have the wiring, and it is not in his nature to manipulate, overpower, shame, and gaslight. That's why a good man is so susceptible to his wife's woman ways and how we treat a good man, because he can't see it and he can't anticipate it because it's not in his wiring and in his nature. And a good man has to take responsibility that in order to not be emasculated and gaslit and manipulated, you have to learn what those tactics look like and what they feel like in your marriage so that you can see the reality of what's happening, learn to anticipate what's coming and see it so that you can navigate it and no longer give your power away to it. That's how a good man sees himself as a problem in a constructive way so that he's empowered to be the solution. That's can't take responsibility. So that's the framework of if you are a good man choosing to stay in an unhappy marriage with an unhappy woman, you have to stay to grow and learn and use your wife as your greatest teacher. With that being said, where I'd like to go next is 5 ways to be happy with an unhappy wife. What I mean in this of how to be happy with an unhappy wife, what I mean by happy in that for a good man in the circumstance is there is an acceptance of your choice to stay so that you are not in turmoil and you can learn and grow and be content with your choice. That's what this list of five ways to be happy with an unhappy wife sets you up to be able to have a deep acceptance of your choice, so you can be content in your choice and still be happy within yourself, have a sense of self, be confident, and know how to constructively navigate the relationship with your wife, knowing who she is and how she shows up as a woman who is unhappy in herself, because that's the issue and the problem. So number one, for a good man, of how to be happy with an unhappy wife, number one, you have to know your values. Number one, you have to know your values. Meaning, when you choose to stay to grow and learn, you have to be deeply grounded and anchored into what is your value you have that you are choosing to stay. You have to know in your heart what the value is for you in your life. What is what's important to you? That's what I mean by value. What's important to you in life, that it is your choice to stay in an unhappy marriage with an unhappy woman. It might be that it's your faith and your relationship with God and what you strongly believe in, that by your faith, choosing to stay in your marriage is the right thing for you to do. It could also be that your value is being a dad and being there for your kids, and that your value is you believe it's better to stay and do your best to navigate and manage the marriage for the kids' sake, that your value is you believe that's the healthiest outcome for your kids, and that being a dad and keeping your family together is your value. So you have to know from your heart what that value is that is guiding your choice to stay in spite of the marriage being unhappy and your wife being unhappy. Only you can know that. You can't get someone else's advice on what you should do or what that value is for you. It's something you have to know within yourself and spend time reflecting on. I encourage you to go watch my live episode on should I get a divorce. In that video, I go in depth into values. The reason that if you're choosing to stay, you have to be anchored and know from your heart what your value is that's guiding that choice, is that it won't work. You can't be in an acceptance and content in your choice to stay if you're staying because you're afraid to go out on your own, or you're afraid to move forward in life and start over. It's not going to work if you're staying because you don't want to go through or are afraid of going through the pain of a divorce. It doesn't work if you're staying because you don't want to go through the cost of the divorce and the consequences that come with that. If you choose to stay for those reasons of what you're trying to avoid or what you're afraid of, that is where you will be a victim and feel trapped and become a shell of a man. So in order for you, again, to be happy, meaning in an acceptance and able to thrive and do your best and continue to have a life for yourself and a sense of self, you have to make the choice from a place of knowing your value and being convicted in that value and understanding it for yourself. Once you make the choice to stay based on a value of what's most important to you and your priorities in life, once you make that decision, you can't talk about it with anyone and talk it through, because everyone's going to input their opinion, their advice what they think you're doing is wrong or right, or you should do this or that. Instead, once you've made that decision based on your value, if you're talking about it with others, they will cause you to doubt and second guess your choice, and you won't be sure and anchored in it so that you can navigate your relationship and marriage from a healthy place for yourself. That's why you have to be convicted in your value and convicted in your choice based on what you've decided and what you know to be true and right for you. The second way to be happy with an unhappy wife, now that you've made the decision based on a value, you must be and can't take responsibility. What does that mean? Once you make the choice, you have to know you made the choice, that no one is making you stay. That's why you can't do it from a place, you can't stay from a place of fear and of what you think might happen that you don't want to face or you want to avoid. That's where you will be in camp victim, having given your power away and feeling trapped and that you had no choice in the matter. And that's where you will be stuck and you can't be happy and content and accepting your choice from being in camp victim. That only happens and can't take responsibility. So you've made the choice. No one's making you stay. If you stay in camp victim feeling like it's happened to you and you didn't have a choice in it, it will suck everything out of you. And again, you'll be left a shell of a man. Can't take responsibility means I know it is always my choice. And that I'm choosing this. And being grounded and can't take responsibility in a challenging situation, like an unhappy marriage with an unhappy woman, you're striving to do your best for you because it makes you feel good about who you are and in your character and integrity as a good man. And then you can make the best of the situation and navigate it from a healthy place. That can only happen from can't take responsibility. So number 3, before I get into number 3, I miswrote my title today. This is 3 ways to be happy with an unhappy wife. Originally, I was going to do 5, but I stuck with 3 because the third one is a little more in depth. So we're only going to 3. I apologize for that. I just caught that. So this is the third way to be happy with an unhappy wife. You have to overcome and know how to overcome being bullied by your wife. So what I would like to do in this section is teach how do you overcome being bullied by your wife? What are the steps? So the first way to overcome being bullied by your wife as a good man, this is critical. You have to know that you are a good man. What the emasculation and the gaslighting and the manipulation does to a good man is it causes him to question and lose sight of and not know if he's a good man or not. I have talked with more good men than not who, because of how they've been treated in the marriage by their wife and her woman ways, and it's so clear they're good men, they're gentle-natured, they're hardworking, they're trying to do whatever they know to do to make things better. They always, when this is so fascinating to me, I don't think it will ever not be fascinating when I talk with a good man or I get an email or an application to talk about the course. He will share all the ways that his wife treats him poorly and what he doesn't know to do about in terms of what's going on in the marriage. And it could be things like we haven't had sex in 5 years, or a length of time, or she's constantly attacking me. I don't know what to do. I'm quiet and just take it. And then they will always add something like, but she's a really compassionate and caring person. That's the nature of a good man, that in spite of how he's being treated and how his wife is showing up, he still sees the goodness in her, or the potential. Blows my mind. And that's why I put in the thumbnail for today of we're lucky as women. We're lucky to be married to good men, and in their nature to still see and want to see the good things, or still want to try to make the marriage work in spite of the awful ways that we can show up. So you have to be grounded in knowing yourself as a good man. It's the crack in your foundation of questioning that in yourself that allows your wife to emasculate you and gaslight you, to question that and to think that you're the problem in the marriage and the relationship. So you have to spend some time looking at, how do you show up with your kids? How do you show up at work? How do you show up with strangers? What's your intention in your marriage? What's the nature of who you know yourself to be? And really be connected to knowing yourself as a good man. Your wife can't bully you when you know you're a good person and you know you're a good man, because you can hear the things she's telling you about who you are. When you're grounded in knowing who you are and knowing you're a good man, you can know, no, that's not me. Doesn't mean a good man's perfect or doesn't make mistakes. But his intention isn't to be hurtful, and his intention isn't what we can make a good man feel in our accusations of them as women. When you know you're a good man, you won't buy into the awful things your wife tries to make you believe about yourself. So that tactic and her bullying won't work. That's the first way to overcome being bullied by your wife. The second step to overcome being bullied by your wife is you have to know the reality of the relationship, and you have to know the reality of your wife as a woman. That you can still, because it's your nature as a good man, still love and adore her in spite of the crazy making and emasculation and her poor behaviors and unwillingness to change. That's just the nature of a good man. In order to not be bullied and sucked into the gaslighting and manipulation and emasculation, you have to know the truth of your wife and her woman ways. You can, like I said, you can still love her and see the good things, but you also have to be in the reality of the nature of her and her woman ways to emasculate, gaslight, and manipulate you. When you don't see the reality of what's happening, that's when you doubt your own perception of reality and get sucked into it and believe that you're the problem, and that there's somehow something you need to do or stop doing that's going to make her happy and change the relationship for the better. Is that's not going to happen. I would recommend going to watch Do I Need to Retire from Making My Wife Happy under the live section. That's the last live I did, to learn more about you. There's nothing you're going to do or stop doing that's going to make her happy or stop these behaviors in her. So you have to know the reality. This is who she is. She's not willing to change. These are the ways that she can show up and treat me and can make me feel really bad about myself. That's the reality. And when you know that, then that's where you can be grounded and, again, not be bullied. The third step to overcome being bullied by your wife is you have to know the woman way of play. You have to assume, not in a pessimistic way, not in a doomsday way, but you have to assume and know that your wife, if she's unhappy and unwilling to work on herself and change, you have to assume she's always in a woman way that I talk about on the channel. Go watch any of my videos to learn more about her woman ways. You have to know she's always in a woman way and assume that. so that you can learn to see it and anticipate it and not get blindsided by it. So a good word to encapsulate all the woman ways is what we're talking about today, is bullying. You have to know your wife is a bully and her intentions and her woman ways. Here's your wife's intentions as a woman in her woman ways. She wants to overpower you. She wants to tear you down and pick you apart. She wants to intimidate you to get her way in what she wants. And she wants you weak and unable to stand up to you. She wants you weak and unable to stand up to her. Apologize. And she wants to be in control at all times. Here's your wife's intentions in her woman ways as a bully. I'm going to say it one more time. She wants to overpower you. She wants to tear you down and pick you apart. She wants to intimidate you to get her way and what she wants. She wants you weak and unable to stand up to her. And she wants to be in control at all times. This is not, while it feels very personal and it is an attack on you, it's not a reflection of you and what you're doing or not doing. It's a reflection of your wife and how she feels about herself internally. For the women listening who are open-minded and hearing my message and wanting to look at these things, you need to know that as yourself. I had to know that as myself, that's how I operated in my marriage with my husband, who is a good man, because I knew I could exploit his weaknesses as a good man so I could be in control. It comes from our fear of being out of control and our deeply unhealthy relationship with ourselves and how we feel about ourselves that we don't want to look at, don't want to know, don't know what to do with. And so we take it out on our husbands. So men, this is the intention of what's happening. So when you're up against your wife and her being a bully in her woman ways, you need to know this is what's at play. So again, you can stay grounded in the reality and anticipate what's happening and know it and navigate it in a way to where you don't get sucked into it. The last step in overcoming being bullied by your wife, stop trying to make your wife happy and put that energy into making yourself happy. Stop trying to make your wife happy and putting that energy there, and instead put the energy into yourself to make yourself happy. What that means is reconnecting with the things you used to like to do and enjoy doing before you weren't allowed by your wife to do those things anymore, and she took over and took control. Reconnect with your hobbies. Reconnect with the things you enjoy doing. Go to the gym. Have guy time with your guy friends. Watch your football game. Watch your sports. Play a video game. You have to do the things that allow you to feel good about yourself and allow you to create a life so that you have a sense of fulfillment and meaning in yourself while navigating an unhappy marriage with an unhappy woman. And for a good man who has been emasculated and made to feel wrong and bad, it can feel very terrifying to stop putting that energy into trying to make your wife happy and put that energy into yourself and doing things for yourself. Because of what's the retaliation going to be from my wife? And you don't want to have to face that because of how crushing and devastating it is. And that's the intimidation at play from your wife being a bully. So here's the perspective you want to take. You're already in the doghouse. She's already unhappy. She's already upset. So you're not going to be more in the doghouse. She's not going to be angrier. She's just going to be angry and upset. It won't make her happy if you don't do these things. She's still going to be unhappy. So be okay. Learn to be, a phrase that I use from time to time in teaching is, learn to be comfortable in the uncomfortable of your wife being upset with you. It's not about you. She's unhappy and she's taking it out on you. So she's going to be unhappy. So you might as well take that energy that you're trying to put into her to make her happy, which isn't going to work, and put it into yourself and do the things you enjoy, regardless of if that makes her upset or not, because she's already upset. Let her be unhappy because she's unhappy and it's not your fault. You didn't make her unhappy. You have to start rethinking that if you're doing things to try to make your wife happy and she's just unhappy, it's like what I say, she's an empty bucket with holes. It's an abyss. It's an empty abyss. And when you throw your energy into that, it drains you. It sucks the life out of you. And that's where you're most susceptible and vulnerable to how she can crush you in those woman ways. When you put that energy into yourself and you accept she's going to be upset and angry anyway, so I might as well do this for myself so I can be my best. It rebuilds your sense of self. It makes you feel good about yourself. You regain your confidence. And that's what gives you the tenacity to navigate the marriage in a constructive way. So again, you can be in acceptance and content in your choice to stay. Stop putting your energy in the empty bucket with holes. Those are the 3 ways to be happy in an unhappy marriage with an unhappy wife. Number 1, have to know your value of why you are choosing to stay. That comes from a constructive place that you are convicted in. Number 2, now that you've made that decision from a place of knowing your value, you have to be in camp take responsibility. You have to know, I'm making this choice, no one's making me, so that you aren't a victim and don't feel trapped and like you have no options or choices. And number 3, you have to overcome being bullied by your wife. And that's what we went into in that section, is how to overcome being bullied by your wife. Now, I said at the beginning that I would address the question some women might have of, why can't this be how to be happy in an unhappy marriage for women? Remember, this channel, when I'm speaking to women and reaching women who are open-minded and want to know these things and want to change, this channel and my message is only for women married to good men. It's not for any other type of relationship or dynamics. So here's the thing. The reason I don't have a video for women on how to be happy in an unhappy marriage is because if you're married to a good man and you work on yourself to be happy, meaning having a healthy relationship with yourself and feeling good about who you are, and it's not too late in the marriage and it hasn't gone too far in your woman ways, you will have a happy marriage. If you are a woman married to a good man and you do the work on yourself to be happy in yourself and you overcome and outgrow your woman ways and how you treat your husband to shame him and make him feel bad and wrong, you will have a happy marriage. That's why I have the sign back here that I keep up. Happy women have happy marriages. Because all a good man wants is for you to be happy. And when you are, you can have what I call the dance together. Because a good man is thoughtful, caring, wants a healthy relationship, actually wants a relationship with his wife, wants things to be good, wants to navigate the relationship and life together, wants her to be happy. And when we're happy in ourselves, a good man will still do all the wonderful things we thought we needed him to do for us to be happy, but then we can actually appreciate them because we're not needing them, because we're happy in ourselves. So then we can appreciate them. That's how simple it is. So the only reason a woman would need a video on how to be happy in an unhappy marriage if she's married to a bad boy and she's in a toxic relationship with a toxic person. But that's not who my message is for. So that's why I don't have that video. So that's what I wanted to share with women. And thank you all so much for watching today. If you're a good man and you want to learn more in depth how to put what we talked about today in practice, or you're a good man married to a woman who is open-minded to change and you need to learn how to navigate and best lead from a place of being confident and overcoming the emasculation that's happened, then please apply below in the description. You can find a link to apply for a consultation for the Marriage Rescue Course for Good Men Only, where I teach in depth a roadmap of how to do what I teach in these videos and talk about. And if you're a woman and you're thinking, man, is it really, I am married to a good man, and I know I don't feel good about myself, and I know I have these woman ways that Karen talks about, and you want to learn to be happy in yourself, then you can also find a link below to apply for my happiness course for women, where I teach women how to build a healthy relationship with themselves. My courses aren't meant for everyone in every situation, and over the years of working with people, I've learned what are the circumstances, who are the people that I can best help with my courses, which is why I do consultation and why I have people apply for the course, because it's most important to us that we can actually help the people coming to us and that our course really is a good fit for them. And we stand by that and have the integrity to only work with the people that we absolutely know that we can help and that our courses can solve the problems and issues that they are having. So that's why we have that process. Thank you again so much for being here with me today. Don't forget to like the video, consider subscribing. Please share this video if you know someone that it could help. And I'm gonna now just take a moment to look through the chat a little bit, answer some questions. Thank you, Evo, for sending those over. And that's where we will go next. For the women listening, before I do that, there's something that I wanted to share. So my husband left yesterday to go on a work trip. Him and the man that he works with are traveling out of state to go do a plumbing project. And he's going to be gone for about 5 days or so. And so last night, I just had a nice evening with myself, and it really helped me to see just how simple it can be for us as women. You know, let's say like 8 years ago, had my husband gone on this trip, I would have been a mess. I would have been feeling insecure. I would have felt like I didn't know what to do with myself, because if he's gone, then I would have just been faced with me. And last night was such a wonderful experience of really seeing the growth in myself, of feeling confident and secure in me, and having a healthy, happy marriage to be able to enjoy that time with myself and also be happy and excited for my husband and let him go have this opportunity and experience without being needy or untrusting or insecure, and that's what you can have, that's what's possible. And so I just wanted to share that for women who are open-minded and listening and watching the channel, of just how much simpler things are when you have a good relationship with yourself and you're secure and grounded in yourself. Just the lovely dance you can have in your marriage with your husband, but then also just the lovely experience you can have just with yourself. And it was so nice last night. Like, my mind this quiet, enjoying myself and the things that I love to do, and that can do, and just being on my own, and having that freedom with my husband gone, and knowing he's having a great time, and just that sense of security and groundedness. And it didn't come from working on my marriage. It just came from working on me. And then that's what naturally unfolded in my marriage. So I just wanted to share that. I was thinking about that last night, and just wanted to share that for the women listening. So, all right, I'll come over here for a moment. Yeah. Let's see. All right. I am going to head over and see what Evo has sent. I see some questions, but oh, Phil, thank you so much. I appreciate your generosity, and just thank you so much. I'm glad that there's a lot of truth today. It's always nice to see that at the end. So thank you very, very much. All right, I'm gonna pop over see what Evo has sent over here. Thanks for your patience as I pull this up. All right. Let's see what questions we might have today. I never get to all of them, but I choose the ones that I feel will be good, and that I can answer on the spot. Yeah, good question. If a man stands up to the emasculation and gaslighting, etc., doesn't that just build more resentment and lead her to continue these behaviors and lack of respect toward her man? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. What happens is it's actually the opposite. That when a good man doesn't stand up to the emasculation and gaslighting, which can be in a direct way, but it can also be what we were talking about today of him knowing she's going to be unhappy. I'm not married to a woman who's willing to change and work on these things. So his standing up might be what I talked about today of, I'm going to go ahead and do the things I enjoy and do the things that make me happy. I'm still going to show up as a good man and a good husband because that's who I am. But I'm going to give myself a life, and I'm going to do the things that I enjoy that bring me joy and happiness and allow me to feel good about myself and be content in life regardless of how she's feeling. That's standing up to your wife as well. And what happens is that when you don't stand up to your wife, when you acquiesce to her, when you allow her to weaken you through the emasculation, through the gaslighting, she continues because she doesn't respect you, that you allow her to walk all over you and bully you. So the concept of the bully today is great with this question. Why does a bully stop bullying? Because the person being bullied finally stood up. And the bully, even though they might still be a bully and not like the person, they have respect. Because the person being bullied didn't allow themselves to be bullied anymore. And so the bully stops bullying. So the same can be applied in a marriage between a good man and a woman, is that when a good man stands up for himself, it actually can lead his wife towards respecting him because he doesn't allow the behavior to continue, that he's willing to withstand the temper tantrum and the meltdowns and her getting angry that he's not giving his power away. And over time, she realizes it doesn't work, and she actually gains a sense of respect. And yes, if she's a woman who's unhappy and she's not willing to work on herself and change, yes, she's going to continue to be unhappy and have resentment. And she will still have some of her poor behaviors. But a good man builds the strength in himself where he's no longer affected by it. So if a good man's choosing to stay in an unhappy marriage with an unhappy woman, he can't be concerned about if there's going to be more resentment and these behaviors are going to continue. You have to assume, yes, she's going to be resentful. She's going to continue her behaviors, but I'm choosing to stay. So I need to do what I need to do for me to not be emasculated, not be gaslit, not be manipulated. So I have my strength and power in me and no longer be concerned that she's going to be upset and resentful and continue these behaviors, because he recognizes he's not the problem and that she is. And he can't change her, but he can stand up for himself and keep his sense of self intact. And it's how you gain respect. It's the fact that when you don't stand up and allow her to walk all over you, that she continues to see you as weak, doesn't respect you, and continues the poor behavior. So thank you for the question. Good question. Why would a man invest in a marriage or family today when the courts and society are so biased against him? Really simple. It's a value. For some men, getting married and having that experience is really important to him in life. And that's what he wants for himself in his life. He might choose, that's how I want to grow and learn, or I want to be a dad. And it's a value. It's really important to him to be a dad. And he believes the best way to do that is in being married. Or it's a value of his in his faith that he wants to be married. And he sees that as a noble and a good path and structure for him in his life. Marriage is an incredible place to grow and learn. I am pro-marriage. This is a pro-marriage family. And yes, there is bias in the courts and society against men. That is a reality. So when a man wants to get married because that's a value that he has to go into it, doing his homework, assessing the risks, and protecting himself in the ways that he can against those risks, knowing that they are a possibility, so can't take responsibility. You can't go into it being naive. You have to see the realities and the risks in it, and that marriage can still be a wonderful place to be and a wonderful thing to do when you have the right tools and you're in it for the right reasons. So lots of men value getting married and want that experience for themselves and their lives, and they need to do their homework to know the biases and to know the risks and what do I need to do to best protect myself, just like we would if we were going into business, and understanding the risks in business and doing everything we can to protect ourselves from those risks, but not running away from it because we're scared of what might happen. That's the same for marriage and men. Thank you for the question. When would you say it is time for a good man to cut and run when he is in a relationship with an unhappy woman? Only a man can know that for himself. I don't give that advice, because only a man can know that for himself based on his values and what's important to him. So he has to know, does he want to stay because that's his value and his faith, or in being a dad, or some other value and priority in life? Or does he value not staying and needs to make a different choice for another set of values? Then he will know it's time to leave. I did a live video on this not too long ago called I think it's actually the one that I recommended earlier, Should I Get a Divorce? That's what I would watch to get more advice and perspective on that question. Good question. How do you know the difference between just an unhappy wife and a narcissist? That's not my wheelhouse of talking about a narcissist, because I'm not a therapist or a psychologist. What I teach is that as women, we have narcissistic tendencies, and we all have them on a spectrum. Whether or not someone is a true narcissist is actually very rare. from my understanding and the research and statistics, but I can't speak to that question. And women are unhappy by nature. And luckily, there's a true nature underneath that where we can find to be happy in ourselves. But my experience and understanding of myself as a woman and working and talking with thousands of women is that we are all unhappy, meaning having an unhealthy relationship with ourselves. It's just a matter on what spectrum of which are we unhappy. So thank you for the question. I have not read The Manipulated Man. I quit reading books about 10 years ago. Not to say there are still some books I like to read. You guys have heard me talk about, I like ancient philosophy and I like biographies and things of that nature. But I stopped reading books like ones that might be called The Manipulated Man or other books on this topic. I haven't. The last book I read on the things I talk about was 10 years ago of Dr. Laura, The Proper Care and Feeding of Husbands. The reason I stopped reading books like that or reading self-help books is because I value finding my answers within myself and on my journey and through the experience of life and through the experience of myself. And that's where what I teach comes from and what I've been taught by my mentor, David. And that has led me to finding truth in myself and finding truth in my relationship with God. And I no longer need to read the books because I go based on my life experience and what I learned through my own marriage and working with men and women. So I haven't read that book. Oh, thank you for the kind comment, K.E. Hodges. Lainey, your content is great. As a husband and father, you help me to know my value. Thank you very much for that comment. And another comment of wise woman sharing the truth. Thank you so much. Love from Germany, from a happy wife. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And see, the women are out there. They're listening. Oh, thank you, Morgan. Karen's raw emotion is why I've stuck with this channel. I don't hold back the vulnerability. And when I share from my experience and my truth, it just, some things either really touch me or I'm owning more of where I've come from and who I used to be in my marriage, and also just feeling the empathy of the hurt and pain good men go through, and also having the empathy of what we go through as women when we're unhappy with ourselves. It's really it's an internal hell we put ourselves through. So that's where that comes from. Thank you, Cross Purposes. This channel's a rare breath of fresh air in a world indifferent to the struggles of men. Yeah, thank you so much. I think I've got an appointment I have to make. So I know Evo sent me some more questions. I'm unable to get to those, but thank you for the ones that I did get to answer, and I'll look through those. Sometimes those questions become topics like today's did for future live videos. So thank you guys so much for being here. A big thank you to our moderators for keeping the chat clean and a wonderful place to be. Memphis Barbecue, thank you so much for being here. I do see a quick question from you. Have you read the Stoics? I have not. I know a lot of what I teach can correlate and have similarities with Stoic philosophers, but that has not been my path. Like I said, it's been through the experience of life, and I'm very blessed to my mentors, David and Peggy, for helping me awaken to this in myself so that I can teach it and share it. So that's been my path. So thank you all so much. I hope you have a wonderful weekend this weekend and next weekend. Again, I won't be here next weekend, Labor Day and my husband's 50th, so I'll be away. But I look forward to seeing you all in a couple weeks, and stay safe. And thank you so much for being here and supporting the channel. Bye.